on $14 Amazon plug-and-play microphones and a Chromebook.
We did.
That's where this thing started. And I was going to count. Before we got started, all day I've been thinking I need to count the number of episodes that you have been in. I don't remember. It's 20, upwards of 20. Yeah. Not maybe 22, 23. Would be like 24, 25. But you've been several throwaway episodes now.
Yeah, the last, 3 times I've been home, we recorded one or tried to record one.
His sound forms are poor.
My sound forms are poor. Very, very poor. Just not very good.
That's way better.
Ooh.
That's 100,000% better.
And I can hear myself in my headphones. I don't like that very much.
It's you get used to it. It's weird at first.
Are my sound forms better? They are better.
Yeah, they look good. They're same as mine. How you feeling, Producer Tango?
How you feeling, Producer Tango? Everything okay over there? Figuring it out?
Yeah. Kind of rebalancing how that sounds. Because it's been a while since there was a person there, so...
That's
just
true.
like listening to your Siri on your map app. Recalculating.
Yeah, right.
I am rebalancing.
Yeah.
Your sound forms suck.
Well, no, it's your bass, midtones, and treble. So, I mean, it's just kind of balancing everything out.
I don't know what that means.
Do I need a deeper voice or a higher voice or... Doesn't matter.
I don't need the Kermit the Frog voice.
Okay.
It's all right.
Hi-ho.
It's okay. It's okay. We nuked Iran. Soleimani's gone.
The best podcast ever. Maybe ever. Some say best.
We haven't heard Tango's Trump in a long time. That's great.
The new Iranian Trump golf course. The first 6 holes are dug already. They're at Fordo. For Trump.
Already been doing the landscaping over there. That's fantastic. Ooh, that's going to make it into the episode. Are we good? You feel good? I mean, we've been rolling this entire time anyway, but...
We'll just edit it out. You got a world-class producer.
Farmer's tan today. Look at that. For those of you that are only listening, I've got an outrageous farmer's tan I wasn't aware of until I saw myself in the monitor just now. I've been outside more today in hot weather than I have in years.
You need an outside job.
I don't need an outside job. I had to buy a stand-up desk because I realized that I had to stand up and take a break from my job. So I was like, I got to do something. So I got a stand-up desk, and now I stand up a lot. We were talking about things before we got sidetracked by poor sound forms. Oh, yeah, all the episodes that you've been in.
Oh, yeah.
Been a ton of them. And then there were like the throwaways that we talked about where I forgot to turn your mic on, and we talked for an hour and a half, and then we tried a remote at one point, and that didn't go well.
Yeah, I zoomed in from... I think I was in Kansas when we did that.
You were in Kansas. I think you were in... We had you on once, though, because we were on the stage at Romega Studios when we were there. And so that one counted, but there were at least 2 other episodes that just got scrapped.
Yeah, there was one. I think you didn't turn my mic on, and it was just you talking for a while.
That's what I just said.
Not that one.
So if you're new to the podcast or new-ish, this is my brother Drew. I used to introduce him in every episode as my brother / co-host.
Yeah.
So you were on from episode. You were in the infamous episode 1.
Yep. Disappeared.
It doesn't exist. Go back and listen to episode 100. Did I talk about that in 100? I think I did. But then you got a job and moved away. You were on through like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And then you have done several since as you've world traveled and made your way back to...
Probably 20.
Upwards of 20. Because I counted one time. Last time we had you on, I counted. And I knew then, but it's been... Yeah. I don't remember what that number was. So I wasted my entire day not looking that number up. But
you were working outside.
I was working so hard. I went to the landfill. We watched a buzzard burst into flames. It's so hot in Georgia. I know it's probably hotter where you live. It's hot here. So there's that.
Man, we came from West Texas, and it's been nice. Hadn't been bad yet this year, but...
I know you said it was hotter here than it's been out there.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's been really nice out there because it's dry. Yeah. So even if it does get up to... I mean, it's been up to 92, 93 a couple times, but it's 3% humidity, man. It's easy money.
Yeah, it's 184 degrees here today with 366% humidity. Just terrible. Just
it's
sucks
easy.
the life out of you. I've had 7 gallons of water today. But I think last time you were on, you were at Peru. Yeah, because last time you were on, you were at Peru, and then that episode the information in the episode was no good by the time it went to air.
Yeah, so I came home for the 4th of July. It was our July vacation break before everything starts for the season.
Yeah.
And we came home, and we were driving from Georgia back to Nebraska to the school there. And we stopped to stay the night in Nashville. Carrie had never been to Nashville, and she wanted to get out and see it, and that's great. Yeah, so we're in Nashville. We're kind of running around, and she's griping at me about being on my phone. We were supposed to be hanging out, and I was like, hey, there might be a thing. She's like, it's the middle of July. I think it was
football coach.
It was like July the 7th or 8th, which our normal hiring period is like December to really March. If you get past March, something really freaky happened, and it's like July 6th, 7th. And I was like, hey, I think we're on something.
Drew's the college football coach, just for to throw that. We'll get into greater detail, but just so everybody's not completely
So we're in Nashville. This thing pops up. Buddies are calling me, telling me I need to apply for it and all this. And so we did, and you guys, there's a lot going on.
We're good. Lots of hand signals.
So I applied for it, and we thought that was probably the end of it. And then shortly thereafter, we got a head coach phone call the next day. I'm in my car outside of a Waffle House in Nashville doing this coaching interview. So we're on the phone for a while and got everything hammered out. And by the time we made it to St. Louis, we had a job. And
That's
so
crazy.
We had just recorded this whole podcast about everything that was happening in Nebraska. And before you could even get it published, none of that was true anymore.
You had a different job.
It's the craziest thing in the world, man. I mean,
yeah.
Our profession, there's 4, 5, 6 months out of your year, you don't know where you're going to live at the end of the week.
Yeah,
you
it could be the phone call you've been waiting on because your buddy got a coordinator
and it never
job
comes from where you think.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like I got all these buddies that I'm really, really close with, and you think, oh, that's the one. No, it's the guy you met twice. And
he's like, I remember that guy.
I mean, when we went to Kansas, the guy that hired me in Kansas was a dude who I had coached his brother at Murray State in Kentucky, and then I left Kentucky to come to Georgia shortly, like a couple of days before he got the job at Murray State. And we never actually worked together. We just knew a bunch of the same people. And he found out I was, it was during COVID and I was out. I was working at the golf course. And he's like, hey, you need a job? Come to Kansas.
Yes, I do need a job and a national championship.
Yeah. So just never where you think, never who you think.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know. That's a weird life anyway, because you never know when your phone's going to ring and somebody's going to offer you a job. But you got a job during COVID and started with a team. Yeah. 3 weeks before your spring season started that year?
I think so. So they were playing the COVID. Nobody had played that fall, and they had bumped their seasons to the spring. Yeah. And I got there second week of February, and I think we started March the 1st. Yeah. Or something like that.
It was a tight turnaround.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 weeks to get in and learn everything and figure everything out and go make a national title run. You're the preseason poll, we're the number 1 team in the country, and it's like, if you don't win it all, you failed.
A failure.
I've been here for 3 days. I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, I hope I don't ruin this for everybody else.
Yeah, but it was cool. Yeah. But it's just, I don't know. I love it, and I've never wanted to really do anything else ever. But a lot of people think that's a weird thing, and they're like the job security and the moving and the whatever, and I kind of like it. Yeah. Man, I don't want to stick around in one place too long.
Makes my eyelid twitch.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. Yeah. But there's, to me, my thought on it is, there's so much out there, right? And I've seen so much cool stuff and gotten to do so much cool stuff that had nothing to do with my job. Yeah. Just because of where you move to and who you get put into contact with, and then I'm on ranches in western Nebraska moving cows and not knowing anything about what I'm doing. Yeah. And I'm in the harvester. I'm in the harvester picking corn, and
Did you ever get to go up with the crop duster?
I didn't. No. Okay. So in the area that we were living in, all the crop duster planes were 1-seaters. And I was trying to figure it out, and people were like, "Yeah, we'll take you up." in the other plane. I'm like, I don't want the other plane.
I want the crop duster. But I mean, you don't want to risk two people's life up there with those
Correct.
psychos flying those
Those
things.
guys are insane. If you've never been
lines.
out in the Midwest and seen the crop dusters fly, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like watching a redneck in a fighter jet. It's awesome.
He's out there,
Man, I'm talking about feet, like not 10 off the ground, and they're spraying
right across the top of the corn
and they
stalks.
ain't going slow, and
Yeah.
they're diving. I saw the guy. I was driving. It wasn't long after I got there. I'm pulling into our little town, and there's power lines that run both sides of the road, and the guy sprayed one field and couldn't. I guess he thought he couldn't get the whole field if he had to get up and over the lines. So he goes in front of my car under the power lines across the street. And I probably shouldn't tell that because that's got to be incredibly illegal.
It's got to be, yeah.
But the guy goes across the field, under the power line, across the street, under the power line again, and then sprays the next field again. And that was when I was hooked on the crop duster, man. That was my guy.
Wash every day
Our head
for the crop
coach,
duster to come
our
by.
head coach lived in the town just south of us, and he had a big porch or big wraparound porch on his house, and I'd go stay with him when I first moved there, and I'd just grab a drink and go post up on the porch and watch the crop duster out in the distance. It was awesome. It was like being in an air show, man. It was incredible.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But yeah, they were all one-seaters, so never got to go up in that. That was my one downfall of Nebraska was I never got to go up in the crop duster.
That and there's just nothing there.
There's not much.
Nothing there.
Omaha and Lincoln are both really, really
Yeah.
cool, but we weren't close to either of them. It was an hour. Close, but not close.
Yeah. Peru, though. God bless them.
Peru, supposedly Peru had 650 people in it. No, 800 people in it, but I never saw half of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I don't know where they were hiding.
Yeah. But then you moved to Texas.
Yep. Yeah, so we go to Texas. Carrie's from Texas. So it's kind of a really neat connection that we made. So when I was at Hutchinson in Kansas and we won the national title, then at that point there was no playoff in junior college football.
Mm-hmm.
They just put the top two teams in the country in the game, and
Right.
that was that. And so that year that we won it, there were 3 undefeated teams. And it was us at Hutchinson. It was Snow in Utah, who's who we played in the game, and Cisco in Texas was undefeated. And Cisco was on social media and all this stuff, raising a bunch of cane about, we won all of our games. What do you want us to do? Put us in the game.
Yeah.
And sure, rightfully so. Great. If I was them, I'd been doing the same thing. I'm not fault them. They were right to do it, but I kept hearing that name, right? Cisco.
Yeah.
Who in the world is Cisco? Where is that at? And so we watched, it's coming down the stretch, and we watched like their last 2 games because we were trying to, get a beat on who they were because we thought we had a shot to play them. And so then this thing kind of circled back around, and I always felt bad. Like it just felt kind of dirty because we won the national championship, and that's great. That's cool. And then you got these guys out there that think they got kind of cheated out of it,
Right.
and they think they should have had a chance at it. And always felt like it'd be kind of cool to go make that right, and go, okay, we'll go get you your shot. And so now that's kind of what drives me there is let's go get them their shot. They wanted it a long time ago. And
Yeah. And that would be cool. And I hope that works out for you. But that's still Hutchinson up there in Kansas.
it is, man. It's a different,
That's who you got to beat.
Yeah, it's a cool deal. And I'm excited this year. Our first game of the year this year is in Kansas.
Yeah.
We're going to play Coffeyville, who is a perennial leader in that conference.
Coffeyville's got guys that will be in the NFL on their roster.
And it's just really cool because it's, in junior college football too, and there aren't like a ton of casual junior college football fans, but
Right.
To people who aren't deep in it, everybody thinks you got the Mississippi League and the Kansas League and everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's just, kind of being down there in it and having been in both. I've been in the Kansas League. I've won the Kansas League twice.
Yeah.
And having been in it, like it's not that different.
Yeah.
It's just not that different.
Yeah.
And you have the outliers, right? Like typically Hutch looks different than everybody else.
Right.
Right. Typically Iowa Western looks different than everybody else. Typically East Mississippi looks different than everybody else.
All the last chance U schools.
Yeah. But I remember we won a couple games this year at Cisco that you go out to warm up for them and you look across the field and you're like, ooh, we don't look like those cats.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go to some of these places and they've got guys that just look not like your guys.
Right.
And we won those games. You know?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's all great, but you got to put the ball down. And the downfall of 90% of the junior college football world is, can you do it right for 3 hours?
Yeah, without beating yourself.
You can do it well.
Yeah.
Right? Can you do it right for 3 hours?
What's missing from junior college football is senior leadership.
Yeah, you got freshmen and sophomores.
Maturity and
there's so much stuff. We talk about it all the time with coaches, right? We had a big staff turnover this year because we had guys that left and got good jobs. Yeah. We had a good year. And we talk about it in staff turnover with guys, and they're like, hey, can we do this, this, and this? And a lot of my stuff, A, I'm a crazy simple guy too, but B, like, hey, but we don't have seniors here. Okay, this thing's got to be able to be digested, right? Because this kid's hoping that he's here for 6 months.
Yeah, nobody wants to be there more than a semester.
No, they don't want to be returners, And some guys have to be because of their academic situation. Right. They're traditional JUCO kids, but we're recruiting so many qualifiers now, academic guys that could have gone to Division I schools and just didn't have what they wanted, that guys don't want to be there that long. Yeah. And you don't have a bunch of returners who can take your stuff and move it year to year, and so you got to be really simple in what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, but and we're not going to give this away by any means, but let's say you're the offensive coordinator now. You're calling the plays.
Yeah.
But you call the plays in such a way, and I know there's a defensive coordinator out there somewhere that's going to watch this and try to get some, because that's what you guys do. They try to glean some little bit of information that he can use. Your offensive system allows you to have the pen last.
Yeah, so essentially what we're trying to do, and again, it's harder. It's harder when you got junior college kids and I got sophomore quarterbacks, right? At best, you got 19-year-old quarterbacks that have been in your system for a year, if you're lucky. But essentially what we're trying to do is I'm trying to make a recommendation, right, and say, hey, this is what should be right. But I don't want to go out there and beat our head against the wall either and say, oh, well, hey, they got me. Congratulations, right? You made a perfect call against me on third down right there. Great, we're off the field. I don't want to do that. So we make a recommendation, and I don't mind telling this that I'm going to say in any situation, hey, this is a great call for this spot. But if they come out there and they're in something that's a really, really bad look for us and we think this isn't going to work, he has a very controlled menu of things out of the same look that he can get us to that aren't bad against that, right? So essentially when we're installing a game plan and we're teaching them what we're running that week, it is, hey, this play comes in this package of things. And if it looks like this, we're running this play. If this specific guy isn't standing there and he's standing here instead, this is your answer.
Yeah.
Right? And so you'll have, we call them play families, and it's just a family of plays, and they're all connected, and they all run out of the same formation. So we line up the same no matter what.
Oh, right? So you don't even change formation.
No, we're not even getting out of it. But it's just, okay, hey, this play is really good unless they have a 2 linebacker box. Mm-hmm. And if they have a 2 linebacker box, that play's no good, but this one's really good, so that's your 2 linebacker box answer.
Right.
Hey, this play's really good unless they have 1 high safety in the middle of the field. If they do that, this is your 1 safety play.
Give away too much.
Right? So, but that's how it works. Yeah. Right. It's box counts, it's leverages, it's alignments, and what you've got to have then is you've got to have a really, really smart quarterback. Like I need, because he's got to understand this thing.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, maybe he doesn't throw the ball as far or as hard. Maybe he's not as fast.
Right.
But he can see it and he can understand what we're trying to do, and that's half the battle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I said something a minute ago that you can explain. I said this gives you the pin last. What does that mean?
So if I'm an offensive guy and I've got a bunch of buddies that are defensive guys, and we get together and we talk and we hang out and we get on the marker board like coaches do, and I'll say, hey, if you line up like that, I'm going to run this play. And they say, well, if you do that, I'm going to run this defense. Okay, well, if you do that, I'm going to do this. And the old saying is, whoever has the marker last wins. Yeah. And so essentially what that does is it gives us the marker last. We get to control what's happening. We got the ball. We make the rules.
Right.
And so I tell our kids that all the time. Hey, we make the rules. We got the ball. They have to come to us. Yeah. And so I'm going to call something, and we're going to line up, and then you're going to line up, and I get the marker last. Because my quarterback gets to look up and say, ooh, 2 safeties. What's my 2 safety call out of this formation? Hey, easy. pop, this, that.
Yeah.
Let's go. And now, because what happens a lot, people try to give their quarterback that freedom, they try to give their offense that freedom, but they want to be the one to control it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what happens is defense lines up, offense comes to the line, looks around, this is bad. Hey, coach, what do I do? And they look.
And it's got to go to the box, and they come back to the field.
So when they look over, the defense looks over to their side, get a change, and now they're not in what they were in.
Right.
And this whole thing's pointless.
Yeah, yeah.
When you give the kid that freedom.
The play clock's ticking.
Yeah, when you give the kid that freedom, he just does it, and there is no look to the sideline, there is no check. And so you do have 19-year-old kids doing this, and you do have to control that to a degree, but let him do it. Teach it. Everybody is either got too big of an ego or they're scared to do that, to put that much on a kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, guy that means a lot to me in this business used to tell us, you got to coach him.
You got to coach him. Yeah.
So, well, he can't do that, coach. Well, yeah, he can. You got to coach him.
You just got to coach him. Yeah, I don't know. It's a matter of not wanting to put the effort in because you don't trust the kid, right? Like, I got to trust that guy to make that call. And if I don't trust him, I don't allow him that
and
flexibility.
My thought on it is, do you not trust that kid or do you not trust you?
Oh.
Did you teach him?
Yeah.
Did you
coach him?
Right? Did you coach him? Like,
Todd Wheeler.
What
God bless him.
What are you doing? Are you coaching him or he can't do it? Well, did you teach him how? And all those jokers don't learn the same now.
Yeah. Okay. No, they don't.
You can't teach all these kids the same way.
Yeah. But, I mean, it goes a long way with the kids to know, well, like, my coach trusts me to do this.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard. Like, I've got to be able to do this. He thinks I can do it.
Right. No, it's cool. I got all these guys that I've coached for all these, and I'm not. I ain't got all the answers. But you got these kids, and what I've found that a lot of them come back with isn't you taught me this or you taught me that or the way that you did this was what it was. It's not that stuff.
Right.
It's a lot of the stuff the kids come back with is you believed in me, and I didn't know if I should believe in me.
Yeah.
You thought I could do it, and I didn't know if I could or not.
Right.
And you made me believe I could, And that's what it's about, man. It's empowering these guys because eventually this thing's over. We can play ball as long as y'all want, but eventually it's over.
Yeah.
If you played 20 years in the league, it's over.
Right.
What are you after that, right?
Yeah.
And now they take that and they leave and they say, well, I didn't think I could do that either, but coach did, and then I did, and then I did it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can do that in business too. Maybe I can do that as a dad too. Maybe I can do that in my marriage too.
Yeah.
And you empower these guys to go do something.
All because you believed in them as a coach.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It is, man. It's cool. Because in the demographic that we get, right, a lot of these kids don't have, like the coach is their male influence in their life.
Yeah.
And it's cool, man.
Yeah.
It sucks a lot. It's fun a lot. It's hard a lot. I got to go, it was really cool earlier this month, in when was it? 11? When did I go to Baltimore? 11, 12? Something
the year
like that.
after they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, whenever that was. They won the Super Bowl in February. I got there in June. But I got to go back to Baltimore to visit a buddy.
Oh, yeah, just recently, yeah.
And when I got to Baltimore for my internship in 11, 12, whenever it was, I had a guy come pick me up from the airport. He showed me around town.
Find out when the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. But he came pick me up from the airport, showed me around downtown Baltimore, the harbor, all that stuff. And he took me to Fed Hill Park, which is up downtown. It kind of is this big hill that looks over the harbor. And so he took me there, and we took this picture of me overlooking the Baltimore Inner Harbor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so I went back to meet that guy in downtown Baltimore. He came back down to meet me, and I got dropped off downtown, and I hauled my suitcase up to the top of Fed Hill, and I took that same picture, and it was just cool to be like, man, there's a lot of stuff that happened. There was a lot of moves. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of hard stuff that happened, and you did all that, and you got back to this same spot, and I posted it on our Facebook page, and I was like, man, if that kid could know that it all turns out okay at the end, it would have been really neat, you know, but it's cool. When was it? 13?
2013, okay. So you were there summer of 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just
12 years later, and what, 4 moves? 5? I don't know.
I came back to Georgia. I moved to Kentucky. I moved back to Georgia, Kentucky to Georgia, to Kansas, to Nebraska, to Texas.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
But you're to the point now, you're not at a huge school. You guys don't play on TV every weekend, but you're doing the job that you always dreamed of doing. Not just coaching football, but specifically you're the guy calling the plays now.
No, and it's just neat, man, because there's been all these spots, and there's people that think you're good, and there's people that think you aren't good, and there's people that think you can do it, and there's people that think you can't do it, and whatever. But, I've just seen so much and been so many places, and I don't have all the answers, and I'm not going to come wave a magic wand and suddenly score 70 points a game and just be way better at this than everybody else that's worked really hard at it too. But it's just cool because I've gotten to build this thing, and it's a little bit from here and a little bit from here, and I like that, and I don't like that. We're not doing that. Yeah. And you've kind of built this thing, and now it's like, oh man, I spent my whole adult life building something, and now we finally get to light it and see if it works.
Get to see it go. This better work.
Yeah. I always go back to that Moneyball scene where it's the first time they're inserting Moneyball into the A's. Yeah. And Brad Pitt goes to Jonah Hill and says, "This better work."
But I mean, you're gonna find out, right? I mean,
yeah. And there's gonna be problems.
Yeah.
There's gonna be stuff to fix. We're gonna have bad games. We're probably going to have good games where you score a bunch of points.
Well, even in having the marker last, like we were talking about, you still got to execute.
Yeah, no, and at the end of the day, it's putting those kids in the best situation to be successful. But sometimes I get beat. Yeah. Sometimes they get beat. Sometimes the other guy's a little better than you.
Yeah. Well, it's the old saying, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmys and the Joes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, we're gonna win some games.
Yeah.
Probably gonna lose some games.
Yeah.
Probably probably we're not gonna lose every game.
Right.
We're probably not gonna win every game. I've been doing this 15 years. I've only done that once.
That's fun.
It's hard to do, man.
That's the best season when you can just win all the games. That makes it so much more fun.
Just beat everybody. It's fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, probably not gonna win every single game. Probably not gonna lose every single game.
Right.
Probably somewhere in the middle. Have good games and bad games, and we'll find stuff that's broke and we'll fix it.
Yeah.
But it's the first run at this thing, man. It's not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to find out.
It all looks really good on the legal pad, though.
Oh, it looks great on paper. Yeah. Because where you absolutely have the pen last, you can make it do whatever you want. But that's going to be cool, though. But you guys seem like you're enjoying Texas.
Yeah. No, this is the first time in a long time that I'm not looking at the next job.
Yeah.
Where and even in places where you were happy, right? That you just knew it's just not a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Like when I was in Kansas, I loved it. Loved being in Kansas. Loved the people that I worked for. Loved the town we were in. Loved the job I was doing.
Yeah.
But you just knew, like, I'm not going to do this forever.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and the realistic amount of money that you're making a year as a college football coach as you're climbing the ladder. Give us some of the numbers that we talked about today. Yeah,
so people don't understand this because they watch too much ESPN and they think everybody makes that kind of Kirby Smart money. Yeah. Right? And then if you get out of, you don't have to go far. I don't mean you have to go to the bottom. If you get out of the very top rung of college football, there is somebody on that staff that's making $10,000 max. That's a lot of money.
Living in the dorm, eating in the cafeteria.
$10,000 a year is a lot of money to a first, second, third year coach.
Yeah.
You're probably I know of a guy that was just making $100 every other week at his job.
$50 a week.
$50 a week is what he was making at his job. And you're working hours, man. You get in a season, you're rolling 60, 70, 80 hours a week, you know.
Yeah.
7 days a week. I mean, we're gonna have a stretch this year, and I've got great work hours. I got the best work hours I've probably ever had in this business.
Right.
Because we understand, hey, come in here and get your job done and go have a life.
Right.
You know, but I mean, we're gonna have a stretch this year where we work 3.5 months straight, every single day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Between bye weeks, you know, and you get a bye week, and they're like, hey, enjoy your Saturday. We'll see you Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's what it is. It's what it takes. And people turn the TV on Saturday and they see the final product, and they don't see the guy that's living in the dorm.
Yeah.
They don't see the guy that's cutting the grass. They don't see the guy that's doing the laundry on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Or all that stuff that's just got to get done.
And he's a college football coach, just like Kirby's smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And I work for a great head coach.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody does the crappy jobs alone. We all do it.
Yeah.
Guys that make actual money, guys that don't make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Guys that are calling plays, guys that are the head coach. It doesn't matter. We all do the same crappy job together, so that nobody's got to do it by themselves. And I love that. But I mean, we've got guys on our staff, and I'm not. If you're being recruited by a junior college and they're telling you that these guys aren't on their staff, they're lying, because I've been at the top of the junior college football world.
Yeah.
Right. But we got guys on our staff that are living in the dorm. They're the dorm supervisor, and they run the building and make sure everything's cool, and they live in a little apartment in there.
Don't make any money, and you air quotes get to be the dorm supervisor.
Don't worry, we're gonna put you up. We're gonna free living, which is great. You don't pay for a place to live. You don't pay any utilities.
It's great if you don't want to be married and have a dog and like whatever. Yeah, I'll live in the dorm while I'm 23.
But I mean, I'll just tell you, when I went to Kentucky, they gave me an apartment. I did not get meals, and I made $0.
Yeah, but they gave you. I saw that apartment. It was not. It was not nice.
So I had a free place to live. We had to figure out the food and whatever. But I was going to school and I was coaching ball, and that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
I came to Georgia because they were going to give me money, and I made almost $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And got to coach my own position group. And that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And then you go these places.
Yeah.
And I've made 3 figures a month at a lot of places.
3 figures a month.
And it's what it is. But there's so many guys that get into this business that would be really, really good in this profession.
Yeah.
Right? And these kids need those guys, and this profession needs those guys. But the situation's so tough financially,
you can't
and
last.
from a living, man, this thing's got to work pretty quick, or we can't, whatever. And so it's how long can you do it and find ways creatively to make it work
to eat,
and how long can you do that, and can you do it long enough for it to work?
Yeah.
And I've got buddies in this business that were really, really good that have gotten out and they're doing other stuff, because they just couldn't make it work that long.
Right.
Because there's no blueprint, and it's so weird because you see, I've got buddies that are at really, really small colleges. I've got buddies that are on ESPN every week, and everywhere in between. And there's no difference in those guys.
Right.
Right. My guys that are coaching JUCO football, I'm buddies with a guy that was a head coach in a playoff game last year, like a college football playoff game.
He's got a wild story, right?
Yeah, but you look at these guys and you're like, he's no different.
Yeah.
It just wasn't.
One doesn't know more than the other.
He just wasn't in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And that guy's really, really smart, and that's great, and he earned his job.
Right.
But this guy's really, really smart too, and he's done a lot of stuff that guy didn't have to do.
Yeah, and it just hasn't worked out.
And it just hasn't been in the right place with the right people at the right time.
That's crazy.
But you hear, I hear these guys, I'm like, man, how did he get that job? And you call him. You're like, how'd that work out? What did you do?
Yeah.
He's like, well, I was in the office, and, the phone rang, and the guy got offered the job next to me, and he said, I can't take it, but maybe he can. Hey, you want this job? And now I got it. It's just insane how this stuff works out, and the climb that some guys get. And some guys snap their fingers twice and have it, and some guys got to ride the bus for 20 years before they get it.
Right.
You never know. There ain't no rhyme or reason or blueprint to it.
Yeah. It's just how it breaks, right?
Yeah.
How it falls for some guys and not others. And your buddy that you talked about, he had a meteoric rise. He was nobody. Yeah. He was volunteering to sleep on the couch. And
he quit he was a high school coach and teacher, and he quit his high school teaching job to go volunteer at a college, a big school, but at a school that was in town.
Yeah.
And quits his high school teaching job. He had been to a camp there. The offensive coordinator at school told him, hey, let me know if I can ever help you out. The old slap on the back.
Right.
He probably don't mean it. And he quits his high school teaching job and calls the guy on the phone and says, hey, You remember when you said to call you if I ever needed anything? Well, I just quit my job and sold my house.
Yeah.
So I need a job. And he's like, well, what are you doing? Oh, I'm literally in the parking lot of the office right now. So come to the front door. I'll tell you all about it. and like, that's great, right? But what if he had said no?
Yeah,
you quit your job and sold your house
or a job. Ugh.
So he came in and he's like, holy smokes, I'm not gonna make you homeless. Fine, come in. I don't have any money for you. I don't have any job for you.
Right.
There's a couch in my office that you can sleep on, and we'll feed you out of the. It was a big school, so they had like a cafeteria in the building. You know, they were feeding the kids, and so it's like, hey, you can sleep on that couch in the office, and you can eat the food that the kids eat, and
college football coach.
You know? So he got that job, and then that coordinator, like, just luck of the draw, right? They had a good season. That coordinator gets a head job, takes him with him, promotes him. Now he's calling plays.
Yeah.
Right? Then they win. That head coach gets a big job, takes him to the big job, and then now he's got his own big head job at his alma mater.
Yeah.
Where he went, it's a job he dreamed of since he was 5 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just really cool. Like, I'm really happy for that guy.
Yeah.
But for every one of those guys that I know,
oh yeah,
I got a couple hundred that I know that are
making
at some school that you've never heard of, making $200 a month.
Yeah.
And, you know, for every one that I know, there's 100 of those other guys.
Right.
And of those 100 other guys, 50 of them are getting out this year. And they're going and getting a job, and they could be really, really good in this business, and they could really, really help these kids. But they just can't ride it out that long.
Yeah.
You know, and not everybody gets to just snap their fingers and have the cards shuffle the way they do.
Right.
You know? And it's just, some people are lucky and some people aren't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't like believe in luck. Like, I don't want to be like, he was lucky and he wasn't, but that's how it seems though.
But it's and like I said, I'm not downplaying the guy that we're talking about. Right. I'm not going to say his name on here, but I'm not downplaying that guy at all.
Figure it out.
That guy's incredibly smart, incredibly gifted, great teacher, super energetic, super football smart. You know, but he's not different than all these other people that don't get the break.
It's just worked out,
and you just never know. Like, I'm not mad at him at all.
Yeah,
you just never know how it works out for you.
Yeah, and
so to be able to finally sit and look at this business and the shape that Division I football's in right now, holy smokes!
Oh man,
with NIL and the portal, and you sign a good roster and win a bunch of games, and you blink twice and look, and half your roster's out the door, you know, and just all this stuff going on, and so. Like, man, it's almost to a point where, like, people that aren't in the business think it's like a cop-out. Like, oh, he can't get a big job, so he says he doesn't want one. Yeah. You know, like, no, like, I genuinely don't know if I want to be a part of that until they get it figured out.
Yeah, you know? They're still working out the bugs, I think.
You know, and I've got dreams and goals and aspirations still and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, like, all I ever wanted to do was run an offense and call plays. And now you get to. And you're doing it at a school that 90% of the world's never heard of, and that's great, whatever. Right. But at the end of the day, it's a college football game. I'm calling plays. We're running an offense. We're trying to win ball games. Yeah. And it's the same thing that I'd be doing if I worked for Lane Kiffin. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Inside of the lines, it's no different at all. So it just is what it is. Yeah. But, I mean, you're one of two people that I know, and P.J. Broom sat in that chair, and he's the other one, that live your dream. Yeah. People don't do that.
No, it's crazy. It's funny because I mention it all the time to, like, our young coaches. Guys, it's crazy that I've been in this long enough now that there are young coaches that are not me. But I talk to these guys that are 23, 24 years old, just starting in the business, right? And I'm like, hey, don't give up on this thing, brother. It's going to be okay. Yeah. It might take a couple years. It might take a lot of years. Right. But don't give up on this thing. Just hang out. Figure out ways to make it work, because if it does, it's worth it, you know? And I say, y'all ever seen the end of Mr. Deeds? The Adam Sandler movie, Mr. Deeds, and they're in this. I don't know if I have. So they're in this big stockholder meeting, right? And they're about to sell this company.
Spoiler alert! If you've never seen Mr. Deeds, go ahead. Drew.
Fast forward if you've never seen Mr. Deeds. But they're in this big stockholder meeting, and they're about to sell this company. And Adam Sandler is going around the room, and he's like, "Did you want to be selling when you were a kid? Did you want to be selling companies off when you were? What did you want to do with your life when you were little, right?" And they're like, "I wanted to be a veterinarian, right, to be a firefighter, you know, whatever." And like, he convinces them all. That kid would beat your tail if he knew what you were doing now. Just go do what you want to do. Yeah. You know, and it's like, man, that's what I wanted to do. This was it. And so now to be able to, like, man, we did it. We actually got there. I can't You know, and I don't think so much about. It's funny because there's things that you get to experience in your life that you've wanted for a really long time, and when you get them, they're not what you thought they were.
Yeah.
Right. Like I remember when we won the national title at Hutch. You win a national championship game, and I remember forever I just thought, man, that's going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be, you're going to be jumping around and whatever. And I just remember, like, we won, and I remember I was in the press box, and I remember taking my headset off and just sitting back in my chair.
Yeah.
Like,
did you feel like a national champion?
No.
At that point? Yeah,
you
right,
don't.
Right.
It's like, because you got to think at that point for 6 months, all you've been doing is, okay, got that one, what's next?
Yeah.
Okay, did that one, what's next? Okay, beat them, what's next? Who's next? What's
Yeah.
coming now?
Yeah.
And then there's nothing coming now. There's nobody left to beat. That's it. It's over.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just this feeling like it's relief more than excitement. Like, thank God it's over. Okay,
Yeah.
we did it. It's over. Nobody can ever take it away from us. Great. What do we do now?
Well, on Monday you start working to do it again.
Yeah. So, you know, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then this job, right? It's like, I think a lot more. Like, obviously we've been working, we've been planning, we've been, you know, changing stuff, keeping stuff, trying to decide what to keep and throw out and all this stuff. But I've been thinking a lot about, not about this, but about everything that we've already done, you know, and like, man, I almost quit right there. I almost went home. I almost called it good. You know?
Yeah.
There was during COVID, I was working at the golf course, parking golf carts.
Yeah.
And I was playing golf every day, and I was a single-digit handicap, and I was like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I remember there were a few years there, and that was kind of during that time too. And really, it was during the slowest times of year, like which would be about now, even when you were still coaching football.
Yeah.
And you would get to the point where we would talk, and you'd be like, "What would I be doing if I wasn't coaching football?"
Yeah.
You know, like this is hard.
Man, it was. It was.
What
and
would
it's
I
like,
be doing?
And there's no guarantee that it ever works out.
Right. You might be a tiny college football coach your whole life.
And I haven't made it.
Right.
Right? Like, this ain't exactly like a 5-year deal as an SEC head coach here, you know, but.
Yeah, but who makes it?
Right.
You know, like, so Nick Saban won, I don't know, 68 national championships or something, and he finally just quit. I say quit's not that. He retired. He walked away from the game with nothing left to prove except that, could I have done it again?
Yeah.
Because there's another season. Even after, like, college football kept going after Nick Saban left.
Yeah.
And Saban has maybe, I don't know, hopefully he's content with the bajillion dollars and championships and things that he won, but there's maybe some part of the competitor inside of him going, could I have done it again?
When you compete for a living and you're always on, when it comes time to turn it off and that's all you've been doing for, in his case, decades. Yeah. Right. Nick competed for 50 years.
Yeah, his entire
straight,
life. Yeah.
Right.
As a player, a coach, whatever.
All day, every day, he's competing.
Yeah.
And then go fish and play golf.
Well, there's a great scene in Rocky 3. You know, when, is it 3? Maybe it's 4. Yeah, it's 4 when Apollo wants to fight again. And he's like, I got to get out there and do it. And we're warriors. And this is who we are. And Rocky's trying to tell him that's not who we are anymore because we're old. Yeah. We're regular people now. And Apollo couldn't turn it off.
Yeah. I remember the guy that I worked for in Baltimore, my boss in my internship. He was the receivers coach up there. And they just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He'd been in this thing for 30 years. And he had just won the Super Bowl. You know, and he had all these buddies that had won it, and they'd go to meetings and stuff, and all his buddies got on Super Bowl rings, and he ain't got one.
Yeah,
you know, and he's like, man, I got one now. We won it. And I'm like, so what do you do now? It's like,
try to win it again.
Do it again. I don't know. Like, what do we do now? And it was that same thing. Like, man, what do we do now? And he was a position coach, so his reasoning was, I got to go try to get a coordinator job so I can win one as a coordinator. Yeah. Like, I won it, but I wasn't calling plays.
Right.
I got to go try to get a head coaching job and win one as a head coach. I wasn't in charge. I just won it. You know, and so he had to reason it because in this business where if all you're valuing in this business is wins and losses, then eventually you're going to win them all and you're going to have nothing left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so that's why it's so important, like, to value what you're really doing with these kids.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Cisco College wins the national championship this year, I got 50 more rolling in here next year that ain't got one.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and if you look at it like that, you'll be okay. And if you just look at it from your own wins and losses and championships and whatever, like, brother, I won a national championship. I can go home. Ain't nothing left.
Yeah.
I didn't win the big national championship.
Right.
But my ring says the same thing that theirs says, baby. It's over. We're out here.
Yeah.
You know, but
national champ.
But there's a whole new crew of guys coming in here that need it.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't need football and they don't need wins. They need somebody to teach them how to be a functioning adult.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
how to win in life.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, man. If you can keep it on that, you'll be fine.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, you don't ever make it, and you may never make it to whatever your goal is. A Division I coach, you might coach at Lackawanna College or Juanita or whatever for your entire career. As long as you can make $15,000 a year work, you can do that. There's guys that do; they just never get that break. So yeah, you got to have your goals got to be rooted somewhere else.
Yeah, but I mean, we've talked about the money deal. Like, man, I'm 34 years old.
Yeah,
and this year is gonna be the first time I've ever made more than $20,000 in a year in my life.
Shoot,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But what do you want?
I do know what you mean because I was a parapro at a high school for a long time.
But like, what do you want? Do you want talk about the normal life, right? Like, man, wife and some kids and a white picket fence and a comfortable life, and we take 2 vacations a year, and like, yeah, that's all great, cool. I don't want that.
Yeah,
you know, like, I wanna be involved with these kids, and I wanna be in this profession. I wanna work in this game. That's what you want to do, and so if that's what you want to do, you're gonna have to give up these other things,
right?
And like, it's just what it is. But I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah,
wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, you're in a good spot now, and you're in a school that you like, and you're in a town that you like, and it works out well because your wife is from a town 2 hours away, and like whatever, and that's great. But Cisco is different than your last stop. You guys have found a church.
Yeah.
There was not one in Peru.
So, man, we love those people up there. There was a lot of really, really good people in southeast Nebraska.
Yeah.
And southwest Iowa and northwest Missouri, because we lived in that little tri-state area. But, brother, if you weren't Catholic or Lutheran, it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Just no churches.
It just was what it was. We were going to have to drive to Lincoln or Omaha to go to church.
Yeah.
In a way that we, take it best. And so that's what it was. But now, baby, hey, you moved to Texas. Southern Baptist churches everywhere.
Yeah.
As far as the eye can see.
Some of them are like in auditoriums and stadiums and stuff out there.
So we linked up with the First Baptist Church in Eastland. And it's funny. So Carrie grew up in the First Baptist Church of Arlington. Mm-hmm. She's from Arlington, Texas. And her pastor, Dennis Wiles at First Baptist Arlington, is one of the professors at Baylor.
Yeah.
And he taught, one of his students is our pastor in Eastland. So that's how we found the guy, because it's not in our town. We drive about 15 minutes to go to church. But, so he said, hey, one of my students is the pastor at First Baptist Eastland. Y'all should go check him out. We went, and I know you will love this. First time we ever roll in there, his sermon was about how we don't have to do all the stuff that we do in church all the time.
Oh.
Right? Hey, none of this crap matters.
Yeah.
All the stuff that you guys value, none of this stuff matters.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the passage that he was preaching out of now, but I can't. It's been a while. I can't remember it. But
Pastor, if you're listening, though, he remembers what you talked about.
I was in there, Kevin.
That's good.
Good, buddy. But he's talking about, who was it? I don't remember. But somebody's in the Bible, and they're saying, hey, all these laws, all these Jewish laws, right, that we have to follow. We don't have to do that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have to have that. And if you're saying that you got to be Jew to get into heaven, nobody's more Jew than me, baby. I'm
Paul.
him.
This is Paul.
It's Paul, yeah. So he's like, nobody's more Jew than me, baby. I'm him.
Yeah.
I've followed all the laws. I'm as Jewish as it gets. Yeah. And I'm telling you, you don't need any of this stuff
all
anymore.
the scripture we knew. Yeah.
Right? So that was the first sermon, and he's about 10 minutes into this thing, and I'm elbowing Kerry going, hey, this cat's got a chance.
Yeah.
We might be okay, because we had been to a couple other places, and man, they got laser shows happening, and I'm choked out from the fog machine, and it's just not my deal.
Yeah.
If it's your deal, great.
It's not
my
God's deal either. God doesn't like that either.
But, we go to this place, and it's, it's very old school, very traditional, great, no problem, whatever. We got an electric guitar in our church band. We're
okay.
great,
All right.
Right. But like Kevin gets up there and tells us what it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is awesome. And
Yeah.
so we've been there. It was so funny because it's still a Southern Baptist church now.
Right.
Okay. And so we grabbed Kevin, our pastor, after church one Sunday, and we're like, hey, we're going to join this church. Ain't nowhere else. This is where we're going to be, whatever. And he's like, well, we got to, cool. We'll bring you up and we'll, introduce you to the church and all this stuff. He'd already talked to us about a bunch of stuff to make sure we were going to fit. And he's like, well, we'll bring you up and introduce you to the church, but, we still got bylaws, and we got to vote on y'all at the quarterly business meeting.
Right.
And I'm telling him, like, Kevin, I'm a college football coach, brother. We don't work in quarters around here. Right? The quarters in the game. The quarters in the game, baby. We work on days, especially this time of year. This was in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, especially this time of year, we work on days. There ain't weeks or months going on right now.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it's been a great place for us. And the thing about this business is you work so much that you get really, really close to the people that you work with.
Yeah.
And the families of the people that you work with, because you're with them all the time. But the negative to it is you only get close to the people that you work with.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of time for other stuff. And so now that we've finally been able to find a church and a group of people, and it's a fairly big church, but we found a group of people now, and now we've got friends that aren't football coaches.
What?
Craziest thing in the world. I got friends that don't even like football.
Yeah, yeah.
Guys in our men's group that say, "You do what for a living? Don't you coach baseball?" No, I don't coach baseball.
Job.
But no, it's great.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool because, like I said, I knew it just wasn't. We talked about it in Peru, and you and I talked one time, and you were like, "Do you think we could go to a Lutheran church?" And I was like, "Well, there's a couple of different kinds of Lutherans."
Yeah,
and they were probably Missouri Synod where you were, which would have made them mostly okay. Y'all don't have a baby they would try to baptize, but otherwise, yeah, maybe. But it wasn't. You guys are Southern Baptist, and there wasn't one of those. And it's hard for us, like in Rome, Georgia, to imagine not having access to a Southern Baptist church, or any other place you may be listening to this. If you're down south, especially here in the Southeast. What do you mean you don't have a Baptist church? Like there's just not one in your town. Like what do you mean? How does that even happen?
And it wasn't. We were like, okay, cool. We don't get to go to a Baptist church, whatever. Like, not the end of the world. Let's go check these places out. And we went and checked out a church every Sunday for a while. Yeah. And it's like, nope. Y'all are weird. Nope. It's hard, man.
Yeah.
But now, you got a church body. You got a group of people that you're with.
Yeah.
They want to talk to me about stuff that's not football. A lot of them want to talk football.
Yeah.
They want to talk about stuff that's not football, and it's just, it's cool because it's been so long since I had a group of people that weren't related to what I did for a living that we were friends with.
Yeah. I remember even when I was coaching high school football, Mark Summers was fascinated with that I was a high school football coach. And he's like, what's that like? And how does coaching this and that? And what's it? Sometimes he would ask me, terminology. What's it mean when they say, whatever? It's just not that hard. We're not out there splitting atoms, But I was fascinated that he was a pastor. I had never. That wasn't even on my radar at the time. I can't imagine being a pastor and doing what you do. It was like, but you're a football coach, and that's so cool.
We got a guy that I'm really good friends with out there that he's a heavy equipment mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And he travels around all these work sites and works on bulldozers and all this stuff. He don't know anything about football.
Yeah.
I think he messed around, played a little high school football, and now it's about the end of that.
Yeah.
It's because he was a big guy and they needed him to, but he don't know anything about ball. He don't want to talk to me about ball. He don't want to watch ball on Saturday.
Yeah.
Whatever. We've been friends for about 6 months before he figured out I coached football. He thought I coached baseball forever. And he don't care about that either.
Right, yeah.
But it was just really neat. I'm like, man, these guys don't care about what I do at all. This is
kind of nice, right?
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Because even at the small schools, it's just been funny. Like, we're not famous.
Right.
We're not on ESPN. We're not whatever. But but people know what you do, and it's not something that a lot of people do. And so every time they see you, that's what they want to talk about.
That's what they associate you with, yeah.
You know, and I'm like, man, I do that a lot, but I got other stuff too. Let's talk about fishing, right?
Yeah.
I like to bass fish. Let's talk about that.
Talk about this new
Let's
lawnmower.
talk about the space program.
Bought.
Let's talk about cars. Let's talk about
who killed Kennedy. Yeah.
That's another episode. I'll get you on that. But like, let's talk about other stuff.
Right.
But I don't get to do that because everybody thinks, oh, your job is so cool. Right?
Yeah.
Because you see Saturday. You don't see Tuesday. Tuesday sucks.
Yeah, when I'm doing laundry or painting lines on the field or whatever. Yeah, that's lame.
But people think it's so cool, and it is. I love what I do.
Yeah.
You know, but I got other stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah.
You don't get that much, and now you do, and it's really cool.
Well, we've spent almost an hour now not talking about those things.
Yeah. Yeah. See? You people are the worst.
I know. Dragging you down all the time. Well, we're going to wrap it up right here. You got questions?
Not question necessarily, but trivia. 2013.
Let's go.
Super Bowl. Who was it? Who were the coaches?
13. That was the Harbaugh Bowl. They played. They played the 49ers in the Superdome, and half the Ravens got out to a big lead. I think they were winning by 17 or something, and half the lights went out in the Superdome, and they had to stop the game for like 35, 40 minutes while they figured out the lights. Yeah. And so they get the lights cut back on, and San Francisco makes a big push, scores a bunch of points, comes back, makes it a really tight game, and they had the ball on the last-minute drive to go try to win it, and didn't. Baltimore got a stop.
What was the final score of that game?
I have no idea. I remember that it was the Harbaughs.
It's got to be like a 35-31 or something like that.
So close. I had it pulled up a second ago. It was 32 to 33 or 34-31.
Man, 1 point away.
With Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco was the MVP.
Joe Flacco.
He's on the stage. I remember the videos after the game. He was on the stage and he's telling people, "Hey, I want a car. I get a car. That's cool. I'm the MVP. I get a car."
MVP. 6'8". Hopefully, it was a car he could fit in.
That guy. I'll tell you this. That guy was funny. When I got there, he had just signed the richest contract in the history of football. They gave him more money than anybody's ever been. At that point, it was more money than anybody had ever been paid in the history of the game to play football. And the first time I ever met him, he rolled in some ratty, like ripped up jeans. I don't mean the kind that he bought at Hollister for a couple $100. I mean like we're old. He probably wore these things in college.
Yeah.
Right? He shows up in these ratty jeans and a Super Mario Brothers t-shirt. And he came in. They had, if you've ever seen the old, it's kind of like a foosball machine, but it's a bubble. It's a hockey game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Like the one upstairs.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, he's got one.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's go.
We'll play when we get done.
So Joe would come in, and he would play the bubble hockey game. That was his thing. And he came in to play that, and the equipment guy was like, "We just gave you how much money so you can wear Super Mario Brothers t-shirts to work still? Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
They gave you a couple $100 million, and you're still wearing Super Mario Brothers t-shirts and holy jeans? What are you doing? Joe, put some clothes on.
Yeah.
You know?
And now dude's what, third string quarterback?
Joe's like,
hanging
he's like, I don't care about none of that crap, man. Whatever.
Got $100 million.
But this is why, I don't know how long we can just keep going after
we
cutting
can
off.
do whatever we want. There's no rules here.
But people always say, "Oh man, you were in the NFL. You must be trying to go back."
Yeah.
Right? You must be, man, I know you can't wait to get back to the league. And I'm like, it's for somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, and so the story that I talk about with that is we had Joe. They were in a contract year. His contract was up, and they won the Super Bowl, and he was the MVP. Okay, great. So now the Baltimore Ravens are in a predicament where your choices are to let the Super Bowl MVP walk and explain to your fan base why you let the Super Bowl
and
MVP
get
walk.
nothing for him. Yeah.
Or B, you can sign him back to a new contract. But he's a Super Bowl MVP, so if you sign him back to a contract, you got to give him MVP money.
Right.
All right. So Baltimore was in a transition in this time because they really, everybody knows football, kind of understands they won that championship on their defense.
Yeah.
Right. They still had Ray Lewis. They still had Ed Reed.
There, yeah.
They had that whole crew. Right. Kruger was there, and they had guys on defense. Terrell Suggs, Jimmy Smith. On and on and on. And so they won that championship on defense. And Kruger left. Ray Lewis retired. Ed Reed retired. Right? You got perennial All-Pro players on your defense that are all retiring. And, okay, we're going to have to find a new way to win football games now.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to be able to just beat people 21-14 anymore. Like, we're going to have to score some points. We're going to have to be dynamic.
Right.
And the Ravens, Joe, if you're listening, I love you, brother. I do.
Joe
just got to tell the truth here. Okay. So they were going to have to find a new way to win games.
Yeah.
They wanted to go to a mobile quarterback run game model.
Yeah.
Right, with an athletic quarterback. Joe was a great pocket passing quarterback, great game managing, situation handling quarterback.
Yeah.
Right, with a big arm. He'd throw the ball a mile and a half. It was awesome. But they needed to go this other way. And the way the NFL set up, right? Hey, we had to sign this guy. We had to give him MVP money. Well, I'm not giving him $100 million to sit on the bench. You got to play him.
Yeah.
And I don't care what direction you want to go offensively. We're giving this guy $100 million. Put him in the game.
He's got to play. Yeah.
And so they did. And they didn't evolve. They had a guy named Tyrod Taylor. Who is the most underappreciated quarterback of his generation. Because you want to talk about, I don't believe in luck. Tyrod Taylor has had the worst luck of any player, maybe in the history of the game. Right? You start talking about, I'll tell those stories later. But anyway, they wanted to go to Tyrod. They're paying Joe $100 million. We're going with Joe.
Can't go to Tyrod.
And then what happened right after the Ravens won the Super Bowl? Had a couple years, right? They weren't Super Bowl contenders, and they're not great, and they're rebuilding this thing. And what's everybody go to? Harbaugh lost it. We got to fire John Harbaugh.
Yeah,
Get him out of here. He's lost the team. Blah, 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 blah.
Never mind, Ray Lewis hung it up.
Yeah. So then what happens? What happens is they pay Joe's contract down enough to where the Denver Broncos will buy it. They send Joe to Denver, and who goes in at quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens?
Tyrod
a guy
Taylor.
named Lamar Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So they go to Lamar Jackson, who is just a better Tyrod Taylor, essentially. Same skill set, just a little better.
Yeah.
Right? And now they're doing all the things they wanted to do, and the Ravens are Super Bowl contenders again. And, hey, Harbaugh's a genius.
Harbaugh's a great
Harbaugh
coach.
just finally got to do what he was trying to do 6 years ago.
Right.
And so that's a really, really long story, but it comes down to I got roster control, right? And I watch a kid. We watch tape on recruits, and I say I want that guy. I don't want that guy. And it may be because his tape was bad. It may be because I talked to him, and I didn't think he was going to fit our program.
Yeah.
It may be because his parents are turds, and I don't want to deal with them. It may be whatever. But we, as the guys who are going to get fired if this thing goes wrong, we get to be the ones that make that decision.
Right.
And nobody in our front office tells me who's got to play because we're paying them whatever. Right? And so that's why I don't necessarily want to go back to the NFL. It's why I don't want to go back to major college football right now.
Right.
Because it's the same thing now.
Yeah.
Everything that I wanted about major college football doesn't exist anymore.
What?
Right.
They have to play Stetson Bennett.
I mean, if you're paying him, you got to.
Him and his Lamborghini.
Yeah, so it's crazy, but like, and that's what it is now. But guess what? There's zero NIL dollars floating around Cisco, Texas.
Yeah.
I can't even get you a deal with the sports bar downtown, so it's too bad, kid.
Yeah.
Right? If you're good, you're gonna play. If you're not, you won't. That's
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a crazy world up there.
Yeah.
How's it feel to be wearing Emperor's gear in Frisco Rough Rider territory?
Oh man, they got the Frisco Rough Riders out there. We've got the Round Rock Express down in Austin.
Yep.
They got the El Paso Chihuahuas.
You got the San Antonio Missions.
Okay.
Corpus Christi Hooks.
He's a minor league sports junkie.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I do have a Chihuahuas hat upstairs.
But I'm gonna tell you what, Justin Franklin didn't invent any of those mascots or any of that merch.
That's true.
And Justin Franklin's my dog.
I got to get Justin back on now that he's in his new gig with the
Yep.
famous Chattanooga Lookouts.
At the lookout.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yep. So, no, my boy Franklin did all the merch. So as soon as it came out, got me one.
Franklin designed the logo for this show.
Designed a lot of stuff. I think that's good.
Yeah.
It was neat. We got to go. They had just shut down I didn't shut it down. They didn't continue the Mississippi Braves.
Yeah.
They moved those guys, and we were driving home at Christmas and stopped in Mississippi outside the Mississippi Stadium with my Atlanta hat and my Emperor's hat. But next to their big Braves country sign. It was cool.
Yeah.
Man, there was one more I had for him. Are you going to stop by and try and catch an Emperor's game before you roll out?
They're not in town. They're out of town the whole time we're here.
Really?
Yeah, we're here
Just gonna miss
for
'em.
like 5 days, and they're out of town the entire time I'm home. I looked months ago trying to get to an Emperor's game.
Come on, David.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I didn't. Man, the Big Braves are out of town. I think the Emperors are out of town. I was trying to do all kinds of stuff.
Trying to hit them all.
Man,
You
didn't
get
work
nothing. Good day, sir.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything to say?
didn't work out.
We're done.
We're
I'm done.
He's
We're outta
done.
there.
You're done. We're all done. We're jumping off. If you get $100 million, stay humble. Wear your Super Mario Brothers shirt. Be in it for the kids. I don't know what else. Whatever else we picked up in this episode.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Keep
That's the main
swinging,
thing.
baby. It's
Yeah,
coming.
hopefully you learned something and/or were inspired by this. Either way, thanks for watching. We appreciate every single one of you. God bless you. We love you. See you next time.